Gentlemen, welcome back to the shop. Today, we are going to do a DIY sleepy eye on the Corvette. I couldn't bring myself to spend the $650 to $900 for Corvette Creations or Corvette Innovations or whatever, or any of the janky, I hate the look of the standard just flat headlights on these cars. I don't like them. They always get foggy and look like crap. So we're not going to do that. The other thing we're going to tackle while we have it kind of torn down is we're going to fix the machine gun setup they got going on here. I'll show you. Hold on. Lights go up. So this is a really common issue with the Corvettes, the Camaros, the Firebirds, all of the flip-up headlight GM cars. While they do have a positive stop inside the motor, inside the linkage that actually controls the lights, the motor doesn't have a sensor. It doesn't know where it is. It's not like a stepper or anything like that. So what happens is they've got a plastic gear inside the housing. Well, they make a brass gear kit for these, but you know me, I'm cheap. I'm not going to buy that. Instead, what I'm going to do is, since I'm taking both of the headlights out of the car anyways, I'm going to see, actually let me show you. When I bought the car, it came with a little goodie bag of extra parts and spares and stuff like that. And it came with one of the brass headlight gears. But I'll use this for demonstration purposes for right now. So what happens is that thing spins around, and that's what drives the linkage that actually drives the headlight up and down. And when it comes down, it's just a worm gear that drives on this, and it'll actually strip these gears right in line where the bottom of the headlight is. For whatever reason, I don't know. But seeing as I only have one of these, and I don't have the whole kit to refurbish at least one of the lights, and again, I'm cheap, I'm going to see if it's possible, since this is not a keyed hole or anything like that. I'm going to be doing the sleepy eye, so my headlight is only going to have to come up about half the distance that it normally would. So I think where we're going to wind up is, I don't know, somewhere in this area. I think that's as high as we're going to have to go. Now this gear doesn't sit there and spin and spin and spin and spin as this thing goes. It only goes through a certain range of motion. So I'm wondering if once I get this apart, if maybe I just loosen the gear inside that housing and give it a little to reveal better gears, and then we'll just change the way that the stop setup is inside the linkage once we get going. So that's the tentative plan for right now. I need to sing DHL's praises real quick. FedEx, in the 5 years that I've lived on this property, give or take, FedEx has managed to deliver one package on time. Never early, always late. One package has actually been delivered on time. And oddly enough, it was the angle kit for this car from Canada, and it got here a day early. But that's the only time ever, once. DHL, on the other hand, these were in China on Monday night. They left China at 8:50 our time, Monday night. They were delivered to my house at like 7:30 Wednesday night. And that's just impressive as all hell to me, because that means it had to go from China to New York, through customs, from the customs office, and basically through the whole chain of command to get to me in a day and a half, and that is rad. So I'll show you what we got. Everybody that I'm seeing is just running normal LED light bars And if you've ever driven down the road and come across some dickhead with his LEDs on, dude, it's just blinding. It's awful. So what I got are these are basically the cheapest Chinese LEDs, but I tested them the other day, and under normal 12 volts, these are a high-low beam combo LED light bar. I got them on Amazon. They're like 50 bucks a piece, something like that. Really well priced for what they are. But they've got a high and a low beam. And what's interesting is that the low beam actually has that hard cutoff line that you're looking for on something that you're going to use as a headlight. I think that's about enough talk for right now. Let's get you in here and get the housings off and see what we're looking at, and see if we can figure out a way to modify the bracketry and figure out a mounting setup for these things. Okay. So to pull the covers off and to pull the headlight, you only need a couple of tools. You're going to be looking at a T15, a Phillips head, and I think to actually pull the assembly, we're going to be looking at a 10 and an 8mm as well. So first up, while we got the headlights down, we got 2 Torx fasteners in the back. Go ahead and raise this thing up. All right, once you've got the headlight up, you've got a couple of Phillips heads. Now once you've got that off, you've got a Torx fastener here. You've got 1 Torx fastener on each side. It just lifts off. So now we have access to what we're actually doing. You've got 2 bolts here that the assembly actually pivots off of. And here in the bottom, there's a pin that runs down to the motor, and that's actually what controls this thing being able to raise and lower. For right now, we're just going to pull these and get this thing loose, and we'll start figuring out kind of what we're going to need to do. Yeah, we're going to go ahead and pull this plastic cover off. Just 4 Torx fasteners. Get that out of the way for right now. So with those screws out, you can see we can actually move the headlight assembly around now. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to pull this motor, and we're going to get into seeing about fixing this gear. Alright, so we've got our motor out. The gear case is held together by 3/4 inch fasteners. Just like that. Okay, so we can see there's a spacer and a washer right there. All of the grease is pretty much gone out of this. Shaft raises up like so. Well, this is much easier than I expected it to be. Okay, so here's our damage, right? So yeah, we got a tooth actually missing, and then these are damaged. I think I'm going to put the brass gear on this side. Not really brass gear. Okay, so before we move on from this, something that I haven't actually seen on any of the videos that I've watched on these headlights is you've got a lock nut and a Phillips bit here, and this actually adjusts the lash on that worm drive to the gear. So when I loosen this up, watch what happens. See how much this can move? So then we'll tighten this back up. And this is essentially going to be setting the lash of that worm drive or that worm gear against the gear itself. So our factory housing sits in here like that, and it mounts off of these metal tabs. We're going to have to do some light reconstructive surgery so that we can get an idea of our tolerances. So I'm going to put these bezels back onto the headlight frame, and what that's going to do is it's kind of going to give me parameters of where I need to be working. So that looks like something here, that. So I want be basically centered that. Well, it's not the best looking light, but we will build a shroud that'll go around this. I've got some Sentra and some other ABS and some other plastics that we can use to do that. So we'll basically have a light block that comes around there, just kind of black that area out. That bar is going to run like this. That gives me plenty of room for my bracket to come around, and it gives me plenty of room to be able to adjust the light. So, nothing to it but to do it. Lines up perfectly. That is one side done-ish. So what I want to do is get it fully installed, fully assembled, and get it laid in the car and see how it looks. Because it would kind of suck if I did all this, get it in the car and it looks like shit, huh? And I like the way I did this because I actually, since I mounted this bar to link the two factory mounting points together, I'll be able to adjust this headlight the same way I would be able to adjust the factory headlight. This way, that way, all that good stuff, with the exact same adjustment points that the car had from the factory. Let's go take a look. Okay, so I just have one of the bolts just kind of in place, but that is going to be our finished product. And I think that's pretty rad compared to that. There's the brackets done, and I'm pretty stoked with how that turned out. That was actually not too bad to do. Only took a few hours, and that was with all the trial and error and test fitting and everything. I suspect that the other side will only take, you know, an hour or so to do, because I just have to match what I've done over here, and that'll be pretty easy. Okay, so I've put the headlight in, set my approximate height for where it's going to be. Everything's still a little loosey-goosey, not completely finished tightened. Obviously, I mean, I've still got bolts just literally as placeholders. But here's my headlight linkage. And this is about the height that I want it to be when the headlight is up. So normally these things just have a single hard stop and it is what it is. But I think what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna get a coupling nut or a nut welded to a piece of flat stock or something so that I can get a full weld here. And I'm going to have a bolt sticking out, and I'm going to use the head of the bolt as my hard stop for this headlight. That way I can adjust basically adjust the pitch and get them both level and even without having to go super crazy with trying to take measurements or get weird. You know, I don't want them like this when they come up. I want them to come up together and I want them to go down together. So I just wanted to look at this before I got started on the other side and make sure that I was going to be able to actually do what I want to do. And it looks like we're going to be able to do exactly what I wanted to do. So now I am going to take this off, build templates, and completely recreate everything I've done on this side for the driver's side, get them both to the same point, and then we'll do our stop. So I got the driver's side motor apart, and well, it's bad. So it looks like I'll be ordering the repair kit anyways. Okay, so it's been a couple hours, and I'm back. I've got this side all but finished, as it was before, but I also have the driver's side finished now, which is cool. Basically where I'm at right now is I've got this one on and just really loosely in place. I mean, just so that I can kind of get an idea of how I want to do my stop and get an idea of the travel that we're actually going to need. So what I'm doing is I'm figuring out how low I can go there and how high I can go on the light. And obviously I don't have, you know, darkness in my favor right now, so I can't actually turn them on, and I haven't wired them in yet, which I'm gonna do. And these do have high-low, so I'll be able to use the factory switch, and I'll be able to, all of this will be ran by factory controls and be able to be tuned and adjusted and dialed with factory presets that are on the car, which is exactly what I was hoping to get out of this, in addition to the look. So this is about the height that I think we're going to be at. So I'm going to need to build this stop in such a way that if I need to, I can actually get the headlight off the car. So I'm going to assume that this is as high as I'm ever going to have the light for service, and this is what's going to be my top stop at this point. So now the light can come off, just the light, and I can get access to where I need to be to build my stop. So it's going to be very hard to show you what I'm doing until it's done. So I think I'm just going to do it, and then I'll show you when I'm done. Okay, so this is my prototype. I've got a little piece of 1/8 flat stock, and I mean a little piece, because I really need to be basically up against that wall. I'm using a flange bolt with a serrated flange nut on the bottom as my lock nut, so once I set my height, I can lock it in, and it is what it is at that point. Okay, so this used to be the upper travel stop, but what we're gonna do is we're gonna have a bolt here, and what this will do is there's a lever rod that comes in like that and pivots on this shaft. This is our bottom stop, this is our top stop. This is what's gonna keep the headlight from overextending and keeping that sleepy eye look that we're going for right now. Let's get the paint ground off this and get it welded on and see if it works. I'm not gonna be able to get a camera angle on actually doing this, but I will show you when it's finished. Okay, so as you can tell from the pictures that I just posted, the stop is done, and now we're gonna see if everything works. Cross your fingers. Yeah! That's what I'm talking about. Yeah! Oh, is there anything better than something just working? Oh man, that is amazing to see. Alright, so I'm going to put all of the beauty rings and trim and stuff back on this light, and we will see kind of how our fitment is and how everything's looking, and then we're going to have to adjust that stop and get the height approximately where we want it to be, because without the surround on it, it's really hard to tell exactly where everything wants to be. Well, I mean, what's wrong with that? How do you just nail it on the first time? I'm so fucking rad sometimes. And I should point out, this isn't fully wired yet. I just have the ends of that wire just kind of snuck in through the other plug there. So the problem, guys, is that I'm almost out of time for today, being that I only get one day in the shop a week as per my marriage agreement. So basically that side's going to be the exact same, just putting it together. I got to wait on parts for the motor because this gear is just completely trash and I can't use it. So I ordered an aluminum gear to replace this one with, and it has the 4 holes in it already, so I don't need the new bushing. I think it was like 20 bucks on Amazon. How do you not just do it? I think that everybody gets the idea of what's going on. In the next video, obviously I'll show you this finished, or maybe first thing I do, it will be tidying this up. I'm not sure. What I do know is coilovers come in next week. The car is getting tuned next week. I'm dropping the car off at the dyno and have to go pick it up between days of work, so I won't be able to record that. I'll ask him to maybe get a couple videos of it on the dyno. We'll see how that goes. Also, there's a chance, it's not 100%, but there's a chance that wheels and tires are coming in next week as well. So next week will be a very big video. It'll probably be broken down into 2 pieces because next week we're doing coilovers, angle, wheels, tires, finishing up the headlights. We got a lot going on. So I hope to see you then. Do me a favor, give me a like and subscribe, share with your friends. You know, I'm going to be doing a lot of videos like this, and once the car is basically on all 4 with all of the drift kit, everything done, we're going to go and we're going to rip this thing. Especially now that it's going to be tuned and I'm not going to be worried about really beating its brains in. The car is unbelievably, obnoxiously rich to probably an unsafe level. I think it's to the extent that I'm actually getting water in the oil, or gasoline in the oil. Way too rich. So I don't want to wash the cylinder. I don't want to, hurt the motor. So I'm just not going to drive it anymore until it's tuned. And I think that's going to happen on Wednesday or Thursday. So, like I said, thanks for watching. Thanks for subscribing. This is how you do a DIY sleepy eye on your C5 Corvette. Thanks, guys.